Are we gonna do this or what?
I'm trying to find the book. Damn it. Where you at? Where you be? Cities Without Number, Deluxe Lightweight. Came right up. All I had to do was the search function in window.
What a concept.
Right. Almost there. Almost there. All right, let me get it. Mic off, and then we'll do the silent count. And you want to do the introduction? Glasses on. Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Jaunty Mantis. This is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games, the people who play them, and the various nerd garbage that we discuss behind the scenes. I'm your co-host, Matty.
I'm your other co-host, Jesse.
And we are two curious gamers who are looking for creative questions. And that's what we do on this podcast. We ask each other creative questions, and then we meander about them and divert into other topics and sometimes get to the point. But this is season 2 of the Jaunty Mantis, and for season 2, Jesse, what are we doing?
Creations without number.
That's right. This whole season is devoted to the creative process using the wonderful library of Kevin Crawford. So our first foray into this project is with a book called Cities Without Number. It's a cyberpunk campaign. We've done 2 episodes already describing our setting, creating our setting, using the creative process and the chemistry between co-host Jesse and co-host Matty. But Jesse, what are we going to do in this episode?
Well, slot and run, chummer, because we're making a mission.
Hell yeah.
That's a cyberpunk crossed idiom there.
It's
Sorry.
a Shadowrun thing. Why are we creating a mission?
We have not we've talked a little on the show about adventure design, but we've never really gone through it. And I think it might be helpful or instructive or at least interesting to see a systematic approach applied. And Mr. Crawford has written a pretty great systematic approach.
That's right. And also, I think this kind of piggybacks on something you said in another episode. What did you call it? White rooming, where you create characters and then have them fight in order to like learn the system. I think this came from your friend George. Does that sound familiar? Okay.
Yep.
So for me, there's a version of this which is creating the first adventure. Like for me, when I create an adventure, if I'm using a customized campaign setting or an original idea or a semi-original idea, I will find out really quick what works and what doesn't work when I sit down to try to actually plan out the adventure. But I think it's important that we stress the fact that we are not writing a Bible. We are not writing a novel. We are not even writing an adventure module. We are just coming up with ideas for an adventure. And this will have the normal caveat that we put in the other couple of episodes. Jesse and I have been lifelong friends. This is my best friend. I love this man. And we have built our relationship based on the creative process and, you know, really just like keying off of each other's ideas and having fun with it. And by no means do we think that this is how everybody should do it. And we invite you to find your own process to do it. We just thought this might be helpful to hear us do it. And, you know, I'm a person that likes to watch other people in order to learn from them. I'm a learn by doing person. So this is our equivalent of a learn by doing kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. Jesse,
shall we review the high level? The year is 2350. In the frozen wastes of the ocean, a tower rises. So yeah, we basically have set our cyberpunk game in this kind of tall tower ecology in the middle of this frozen ice. There's a huge Problems in our world are a caste system and climate change, of it being freezing cold. Um, we've kind of fleshed out the some of the one district of the city, the mid tier canal district and parkland being replaced by grand construction. We've created some gangs, the ethical horde, who make money from lobbying the city government.
That's right.
We've made a couple corporations, the Nova Union, who specialize in education. But they are incredibly vengeful, and their low-level staff are zealously loyal. They all have goals. We've got the Phobos Union. We've got a couple people such as Christian Bald in the city government. He has ties to the ethical horde. And Georgina Akeem, the cunning person with a forgiving temperament and an irrational hatred for a class or type. They hate their current job or boss. Nigel Van Gool. And then we have a fixer named Telmore. Oh man, I remember now rolling up Telmore. Telmore is like a sleeper agent for a foreign tower.
Totally.
Yeah, they have had rebel or terrorist ties, foreign agents of an outside power, but they pay noticeably better than most people. And they're a new face with little, that dude is up to no good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big surprise waiting to happen.
Yep. Yep. You've been working for an enemy of the state.
So Jesse, when you start working on an adventure, how do you find a good starting place? My process begins with trying to stay small. I want to focus on the small. That's my thing, is let's focus in on the town the players or characters are from, or the moment in which events start to change. Let's think small scale. Let's work on a very efficient, minimal detail level. What about you?
I buy a pre-written campaign and read it.
Perfect. What do you want to do this time, though?
I want to basically flesh out mission number 1 using Kevin Crawford's ideas.
Okay. And does that start with a page number in the Cities Without Number book?
Yes, because as a reminder, you should buy Kevin Crawford's book, but he does make a free version available on DriveThru for you to test it out before you buy his book. Please buy this man's work so he makes more.
Yeah, but check it out. Check out the free version, and then when you fall in love with it, buy it. Okay, so where are we going to start? What page number?
We're going to start on page 144. We're going to create some mission tags. And I know you've talked a little bit about having tags in your process. I was re-listening to an old episode about what you do for adventure design, and you said you just strip it down to tags like statue, sword, that kind of stuff. Kevin does the same thing.
He's a genius.
So one of the things that's really cool is we're going to roll 2 tags and we're going to mix and match them.
Okay.
So each one of these tags has a little coding system of the letters E, F, C, T, and P. Would you like to guess what E stands for?
Ooh, what does it stand for?
Enemies.
Oh. What about F?
And friends.
And what about C?
The twist, complications.
And what about T then?
Things, the MacGuffin.
And then P?
Places. Each tag will have enemies, friends, complications, things, and places.
Perfect. All right. Do you want to give an example tag on a mission tag?
Yeah, I'll just start with the first one, which is abandoned town.
Okay.
So there's a list of possible enemies for an abandoned town. Crazed gang boss in the ruins. I almost said beautiful. A brutal scavenger chief, although beautiful scavenger chief could work too. Or a monstrous spawn of the wreckage.
I want that one.
Yeah, all potential enemies you could run into in the abandoned town. And then F is a desperate local who refuses to leave, an investigator seeking the truth of the downfall, or a pioneer trying to revive the place. Complication is the place is still in the process of abandonment. Scavengers are pillaging it actively, or the cause of the abandonment is still an active hazard. Things are precious things lost in the downfall, actionable proof of a corpse culpability, tech or resource that could revive the town. And then the place is a desolate public gathering place, a crumbled residence tower, or a building smashed by the cause of the ruin.
Nice.
So you got who you're working against, who probably hires you, what makes it hard, the thing you might want that's valuable that sends you there, and then some of the places that could be thematic for the scene. And man, that's a cool system.
Yeah. It's almost like he did all the work for us.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just let us do like the fun talky parts, right?
I know.
Like that's the beauty of these books. I can't stress it enough. Like this guy just did all the work for you. Like all you have to do is be like, maybe this, change this from brutal to beautiful, whatever. Just
He
let you have
has
fun.
we're not talking about it this season because it's not a genre we're very familiar with, but he has one for creating your own Cthulhu mythos and
Oh,
being like
nice.
occult investigators. And I rolled a mythos up once and it was wild.
That's fucking awesome. All right. I can't wait to roll some virtual dice on a Google Dice roller. We're gonna be
Percentile, please.
all right. I got a 17.
Breakthrough tech.
All right. Breakthrough tech.
And what's our other one?
Our other one is our other one is 42.
42. Forbidden tech.
Oh wow. A tech adventure. A tech war,
Mm-mm.
if you will.
I know. William Shatner's tech war.
All right. Breakthrough tech. All right. Breakthrough tech. The mission involves a significant technical advance, though this innovation may be in some esoteric industrial process or chemical synthesis, valuable only to a few producers. Everyone around it knows it's important. However, and the first corporation to get its details can expect to profit richly from it. Okay, so what qualifies that?
Well, let's get the description of forbidden tech because then we can mash
Okay.
them together.
Oh, perfect. I didn't know if we were doing these in order or mixing them up. I love mixing them up. Forbidden tech. Why don't you go ahead and read forbidden tech?
Sure. Half of what's in an operator's pockets is likely illegal in the city, but this mission involves a piece of tech that is really illegal. It involves bioweapons, poison gases, large scale military explosives, unspeakably vile VR chips, or something else that no cop or corp security can afford to ignore. Someone may want the tech, may have the tech, or may be trying to get rid of the tech without it being traced.
I love that last part. Trying to get rid of the tech. Cool, cool,
Oh,
cool.
okay. We talked, I think, a natural holder for this mission, the person that needs this mission done. I want to say it's the ethical horde.
Okay. Why?
And I think through some process, whether there's like cleaning out the ruins of their lower city base before the move, or whether they got some weird paperwork formatted to the city government and got something, I think they got their hands on basically a cheaper manufacturing process for whatever heat chemicals Volga community uses. Like this is a thing that could put them in competition with Volga.
Well, that lines up with how we fleshed out this setting, right? Because we said, the twist behind the technology that provides the heat is it's ridiculously easy and cheap to produce. That's its big secret. And we
Yeah.
also discussed it, a big threat to it being an unstable version of its competition.
Yeah, the only reason that it's expensive or scarce is because Volga is
Made it that way.
profiteering off it.
Yeah. They're hoarding it.
Yeah.
and making it seem like its value is way higher than what it seems.
And I love that idea of trying to get rid of the tech without it being traced,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's really, really interesting and also likely to create some conflict for the players
Mm-hmm.
because they'll know that it's super valuable. But the ethical horde just wants it disposed of. Like they want this information out of their systems. They want it gone. They don't want anyone to know how. They have just barely survived pissing off another corp, and they
Mm-hmm.
are not crazy enough to get greedy about this thing right now.
I love that. Can we take it one step further with an actual chemical, like not just a formula, not just data describing the chemical, but the actual chemical itself, physical proof? Because I kind of want to take this disposal thing one step further. I kind of want to make a part in the adventure where some of it or all of it gets flushed down a toilet. And because of the unique chemical nature of this product, they have to go into the toilet to pull it out, or recover it. Like it's been disposed of literally. Like they have to literally extract it from whatever method that they tried to dispose of it with. Do you think that's possible to do?
Like go into the sewers and recover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they got so desperate to get rid of it at one point in time. Like it's that part in the movie where the person is just like constantly looking over their shoulder and there's guys that are about to kill them and they just fucking toss it. They just get rid of it immediately and then start running away. Like that's what it came down to.
Yeah. Like that happens during the actual meet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because I like the idea of them then having to go into these other parts of the district that we kind of, workshopped in our last couple of episodes. Because then it'll let us give this adventure like a nice range of, locations and places to go to.
Okay. So we need an enemy for them to strive against, according to this system. And looking at the forbidden tech, hey, here's an idea. You look at the other page for the breakthrough tech,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and I'll look at the forbidden tech, and then we'll just say things for each category that jumps out on us and then decide what works best.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay, one of the enemies, and I love this idea, is a desperate zealot set on using the tech for their cause. There's somebody else in the ethical horde that knows about it, and they're the idiot that's gotten greedy with it.
Perfect.
And they're high enough up the chain to have resources, so we have another group of people hunting for it. So it's a
Right.
race against time on this mission.
Right. And that cues into an enemy from the breakthrough tech list that I really like, which was the cruel scientific headhunter. I like the idea of like a mercenary, an assassin, a headhunter, a hunter, but he's like really fucking nerdy. Like he wears a fucking lab coat. Like he's a guy that like was working in a scientific capacity and he just has a penchant for cruelty and beating people up. And that's just become the his path, right? So I
Right.
like designing that whole aesthetic around this like science-based headhunter, like an evil Dexter from Dexter's Lab, all grown up and disgusting.
Okay.
What do you think?
I love it. I think having two groups looking for it like
Yeah,
raised
you
the
have them
stakes.
clash. You have them
Yeah.
clash with each other. Like what this has the potential to do is it has so many moving parts, and you could preface the adventure by saying like you can use just these or you can have them all going off at the same time. Like if you need to like really mix things up right now, have the fucking headhunter just like come right around the corner, and just make it obvious that this person's about to start killing people.
Yep. Yep. I think we'll get there with the complication too. Do you got anybody on the friends list? I got something that's likely, but I want to hear yours first.
I kind of like this sympathetic entrepreneur. I like the idea that there is a positive potential to this technology, that there is somebody out there who is trying to do right with it. And because because Cyberpunk is an extrapolation and commentary on like, the evils of consumerism and capitalism gone wrong, and a decimated society by that particular aspect. I like the idea of a sympathetic entrepreneur, which is what is listed through the breakthrough text. Somebody who the PCs could trust to be able to be interested in this technology, as much as anybody could be trusted. Now, like what role that person plays, whether they're in the background, can they be trusted? I don't know, but I like the idea of having like a little point of light in an otherwise dark and dismal setting. What do you think? Is that too overly ambitious?
No, let's keep that as a third. That's a third faction option of someone also looking for it.
Okay.
And that one is the one who will ally with them.
Okay.
And like have the best interest at heart.
Yeah. I mean, he still wants to make money, but he can put it to good use as a competitor to bring down the other organization, the Volga Corp that supplies the heat.
Yeah, good luck doing that.
Yeah.
I've got this one good patent and I'm going to take on a multinational evil corporation. Yeah, he'll wind up dead or bought.
Yep.
Or they'll just buy him. Okay, here's mine. The associate who needs the tech to discreetly disappear.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like this.
Yeah. So that person's the missionary. So far, we've got. I love the it gets flushed. I love it gets flushed.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me so many ideas of where this can go. But let's get through this list, and then I'll tell you my idea of the plot, and you can tell me your idea of the plot.
Okay.
Okay. Complication. I have the tech is disguised as something else. It was stolen from someone else who wasn't supposed to have it, and it's seductively easy to sell on the black market.
I
don't think this thing is easy to sell on the black market.
No, that kind of undermines our whole thing.
It's too dangerous. Like, well, you got anything for complications on breakthrough?
The tech is very dangerous to manufacture, which I really like. I like the idea of setting the stage with these seemingly random explosions that happen off in the distance. I like the idea of when this gets flushed, there's a timer on it. I'm a big fan of timers ever since we had that one conversation about your Age of Sigmar game and putting a timer on the party to keep things moving. I like
just put a clock on it.
Yeah. I like the idea of there being a timer on everything. Like if you do not do X, then this happens, right? So, with that, if it's very dangerous to manufacture, that also does add an element to the cyberpunk setting. Like everything is inherently dangerous or problematic, right? Like, otherwise it's like, well, why is this a dystopian society if they have an easy produced, cheap energy source? Like that should be the salvation of this setting. So I kind of feel like we need like that kind of twist to it. That like,
no, that's super on the nose for cyberpunk, and there's no problem with being on the nose for cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have the means of production, it's super easy and cheap to do it. But if you're the only one with the means of production and you have this brutal caste system, it's not going to get out that it's super easy. And you've got the manufacturing for it. I think one of the things to do, I worry about this, if it's going to break down or explode on a timetable, it's not as interesting to get. But I have an idea. Maybe there's like a chemical marker that's breaking down.
Okay.
And that chemical marker can be used to trace it with the right equipment.
All right. I like that. Yeah, let's do it.
So then if they don't find it, it could wind up in somebody else's hands.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the whole thing starts over again.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that works. Do you have a similarly interesting complication?
No, I think yours is better.
Okay.
We could do something kind of funny if it was disguised as something else. Like
Yeah.
I want to do Jurassic Park, like a can of shaving cream or something.
Yeah, like it's
Like,
hidden in a fucking like hot dog,
yeah.
but the hot dog is made of like rat meat.
Chasing a hot dog made of rat meat through the sewers with a decaying genetic tracking system or chemical tracking system on it.
I'm a big
Well,
fan of
grown
it.
up sadist Dexter's lab guy is looking for it.
Perfect.
It just writes itself. I
It's just
mean,
happening right in front of us.
yeah. Thing. I think the thing is the tracking equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea that it's very, very dangerous to manufacture too,
Mm-hmm.
because to get the equipment to track it, you have to go to the ETA manufacturing facility that's been decommissioned where it was made. And that
Right.
place is a chemical wasteland with like, that
Oh,
looks
that's
like the top
perfect.
of a Blade Runner city, just like
Oh yeah.
flame vents everywhere, deadly chemicals, noxious fumes.
So are we gonna make them have to suit up in like, makeshift hazmat gear in order to get into that facility?
I don't think we're going to make them. I think that's a really good idea. But I'm like picturing like running gun battles on rusting, collapsing walkways above chemical vats, like,
Perfect.
you know,
Yeah,
sudden flame vents.
I love it. I love it. For for my things, it also says secret formula vital to the tech, which I think just goes hand in hand with what we've already been describing. So I think that one's already also been done for us right there.
Yep. Um, yep. The thing is the tracking device.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then place. Well, we've already got one.
Mm-hmm.
We've got two actually. We've got the place where it was made, the horrible abandoned chemical factory.
That's right.
We've got the sewers because it's getting flushed and you're going down the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is Grim Lab, where the tech is created, site of the tech's recent deployment, heavily guarded storage site for the tech.
And mine are hidden corporate laboratory, restricted testing grounds, ransacked remnants of the real inventor's lab.
Ooh,
I like that one.
yeah.
I mean, that's the like, you could throw in so many clues. Like, let's say if we did the hot dog thing, you could throw in so many clues to the hot dog in his lab. You know what I mean? I like the
Okay.
idea of also designing a makeshift lab in somebody's living space or workspace that was hidden. You know what I mean? Like one of those pull-out bed kind of deals. Like it's a pull-out fucking lab that comes out of the wall, and it's all you know makeshift stuff that was taken from work.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
We're done.
Oh, we're just completely done. Episode over. 15 minutes. All right.
Was it only 15 minutes?
How are we going to work in our NPCs?
Okay, so now we've got our NPCs, right? I definitely think our shady fixer is the guy who hooks this one up.
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is perfect.
I don't know that we need a city government NPC.
No, we don't need one, but we could have one just kind of like ready and waiting in case that ever needs to come up.
Well, here's the other thing too. If you're listening to Kevin Crawford's advice, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We rolled up these city officials. We don't have a use for them.
That's
They're not
true.
city officials anymore.
That's
One of
true.
them's this guy in the ethical horde who needs to get rid of something.
That's true. Remind us of this rule real quick.
So he says only prep what you need to prep. And
Mm-hmm.
then also, no prep is ever wasted because if they don't go to the dungeon that you drew, you've still got a dungeon you can use for something else. So just look at your cards, your elements you've created, and repurpose them,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Love it.
such great, great advice.
Yeah. Use the whole animal.
Yep.
Okay.
So you
So,
want to talk through the outline of from your perspective?
well, we need, well, wait, you had a defined idea that you were waiting to share. So let's do that.
Oh, we got it. It was the chemical plant,
Oh,
and
okay. Okay.
it
Perfect.
was the chemical plant where they have to go because they have to get the thing that lets them track the compound and narrow down on it in the sewers.
All right. Well, then let's go back to one then. What is the hook to get the player characters into? Do they have any stakes in it? Is it all through our NPC that we've decided to include it in the adventure? Like, is there any kind of personal stakes involved? Are there multiple pathways into this adventure?
How about I mean, it could be as little as the fixer calls you and says, "I've got this job. It's urgent. The
Yeah.
ethical horde needs help." But if you wanted to really personalize it more and have them make it their mission, let's say that the do-gooder character we've mentioned
Mm-hmm.
is like a family, older brother or something, or like some familial fond connection to one of the player characters.
I love all of these things and I want to do more. One of the things that I used to love about pre-written adventures in the third edition era, even though I don't like pre-written adventures, but Wizards of the Coast did release some mini adventures on their website that you could download. And in some of them there were like multiple prompts for how you can get characters into the adventure. Like you just said, there's a family member or somebody hired you or whatever the case may be. So I like bringing all of these different things together, right? Like we mentioned the idea of explosions happening off in the distance, and you could make it that one of the characters, people close to them have been affected by this. I like the idea of tying in our setting directly into the characters. And I know we don't have characters made in order to reverse engineer that process, right? Because in one of our episodes, we said get to know the player characters and then design the adventure around them. We don't have that. But I like the idea of putting in like setting specific prompts that you can be like, okay, well, Mike, for your character, they've noticed these explosions happening, and that was a cause of the death of your uncle or whatever the case may be. And this is like very important to you that you discover why this happened because it seemed random out of nowhere, and you're desensitized, your character is desensitized to things like this, but for some reason this really matters. Why does it matter to you? Why did this event matter to you? I like the idea of the writer's room approach of the apocalypse world system of like bringing the player characters into the story. Why does this matter to you? What is it about this sympathetic entrepreneur? Why will this product work? Jesse, you're playing in my game. Your brother is the sympathetic entrepreneur who has a plan for this product. Why would this work? Like, why does this have a shot of working in this bleak corpo environment?
I don't know that I'd go with the aspect of hope that early on, to be
Okay.
honest. Is it okay if I come back with another pitch on that? I'm not
Oh,
trying to crap on
totally.
yours.
No,
I
totally.
I would say you have a cousin, you grew up together. He's a really good guy, and he actually made it. He made it out of the mid tier, um, and he's been working on these products. You guys talk once a week. What do you usually talk about?
Right.
And then be like, he hasn't called you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like it.
And then they could go find the ransacked, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's another hook in.
Right. Like they go to his apartment or whatever. They find the ransacked lab that he has, right?
Yeah, it's been tossed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they find some sort of like data code that in some cipher they used as kids. They got missed,
Right.
leads them to the next place.
Which you can ask the player about their character. Like you guys had like a special code or a cipher, a way
Yeah.
you communicated when you were kids. What is it? Like you don't have to come up with it exactly, but what is it? Like a puzzle? Is it like a series of numbers? Like just off the top of your head, like give me something to work with, right?
Yep.
Like bring the player into it. Love it.
And then of course we also have the option of the fixer. Like if you got a more mercenary character, a fixer calls you.
Hmm. Yeah, and you could also make somebody. I want to bring this like nut job into it that like there's a rumor on the street that this guy's on the prowl and everybody's talking about it, you know? Like there's this weird thing that happens for me in movies and TV or books where there's that person that has like street cred and they go to like people who are like sort of kind of criminals or around criminals and they're like, what's the big score, what's the thing happening on the street, what's everybody talking about? And I'm like, God, this is such a cop out, a way to transmit the story. I mean, I don't know how else you do it, but like people are just like freely talking about it and then it leads them right to the guy. It just seems really weird. But in a role-playing game, that's perfectly acceptable. So I like the idea of being like this psycho Dexter from is out there, this like a science assassin is out there in rumor form. And I like the idea of not necessarily tying it into the characters, but definitely putting a seed in for a player character to follow. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's if they go to a meet at the club or whatever, that's what people are talking about. Like you hear people are talking like, you know, lab coats out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just envision this guy with like these huge goggles and the fucking lab coat and like those dishwasher gloves. You know what I mean? Like all the fucking stereotypical images you have of like a whacked out mad scientist, right? He's got like crazy fucking hair, you know?
Yep. I love it.
Looks like he's been electrocuted at least 5 times in the last 24 hours. All right. Are we going to use are we going to use any mission types or anything else from the Crawford book?
I think we've got a solid enough plot. Like we would just then need to like, look up some maps of our locations in case we needed them for just showing the players this is what it is. We'd pull some stats from the back of the book, probably despite the scale and scope of this run, it'd be like 1 or 2 hit die guys at most, maybe 3 hit die. If we're using this system, 3 hit die for the baddie, the big baddie, like lab coat there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it kind of goes itself. One question I might have. So this is like another thing I do with this general outline. Uh, I want to think about recovery real quick.
Okay.
They get onto the hook. They go investigate. They find that they need to go get this device that can track this chemical compound or get a sample of the chemical compound in a decayed form to upload to this device so they can track it. Wait, where does the meat happen where it gets flushed?
Well, that's what ultimately we need to design that encounter would be if we were actually making this game. I would like it to be there's pressure from all sources. They're just about got their hands on the person that, has it. And then that person is in the process of flushing it. Right. So
Yeah.
where does that happen? Like, has somebody recovered it from the apartment with the makeshift science kit? Has it, you know what I mean? Like, have they led the person to it? Like, what are the series of events in which this play out? Right. Like, we talked about the player character having a code or a cipher. Like, what does that reveal, about it that they don't know? Like, who has it and why are like they're trying to get rid of it desperately? We have a motivator for getting rid of it because we have, fucked up science headhunter on the loose. You could play
Yeah.
an event in a building where somebody looks out the window and this guy's walking through the front door, like he'll be there soon, or he's coming up the stairs,
Yep.
and like they're like the person thereafter is like, you don't understand, like we're all in danger. I got to get rid of this thing now. And the player characters are like, give it to us, and that person's like, no, and then just goes over and like throws it in a fucking chemical toilet and flushes it out. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
could
The
do.
cousin,
Go ahead.
the cousin or whatever, getting back to the original idea, the cousin is not made good corp guy. Cousin is in the ethical horde,
Okay.
like higher ranking, and he's got his hands on this thing. So he's gone to ground with the horde, but they're initially looking for him because he's
Mm-hmm.
disappeared. They find him. He's in the horde headquarters or a horde like safe house, and he's talking about this. I got this. It does this. We got to get rid of it. Like I'd love to use it, but there's too many. I feel like people are onto it, and then they see the dude walking, so it gets flushed.
Okay. I think we should use the old Horde headquarters. And why did we say that? We said it's being redeveloped, right? Into a new neighborhood.
No, the old headquarters was in the lower city, and there was a heating accident or something. But we decided that actually, like I think Nova, like got pissed off at them because of an
Mm-hmm.
indenture, and Nova's incredibly vengeful.
Mm-hmm.
So they like sent in like a corp kill squad to blow it up.
Okay, then what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of some sort of like open waterway that was
So
a
there's that canal district, and then there's like the big parkland that was like the water reclamation thing that nobody was really using. So people, it kind of became like a commons. And
Mhm.
then Volga, whose money trouble is from the failure of this housing initiative, was trying to create some nicer mid housing, and they're changing that parkland into this.
Then that's where it happens because there's multiple opportunities for this guy to throw it in the water and get rid of it.
Right.
Because what I like to do with an adventure is after I start getting it fleshed out, I start thinking like, okay, now how can this go horribly wrong, right? From my perspective. And one thing that could definitely go horribly wrong is we don't get to have our cool flush it down the toilet moment, right?
Yep.
So we need to have lots of opportunity for that to happen, right? Like
Right.
they shoot him and you're like, well, he falls over and it rolls out of, and goes into the water, right? Like it would be it's not unacceptable and horrible, but it is disappointing if you're like, I want a part of this to go this way, right? So, if that area is being developed, there's opportunities for both of these things to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like a wireframe, basically like shed in the construction zone that the
Right.
horde uses as a safe house for the stage because it's construction's paused. So
Mm-hmm.
almost like I almost get the sense of like obviously we'd cyberpunk this up to our crazy winter arcology, but like kids playing in half built houses in a housing edition.
Right. And there's all this
Yeah.
signage on the front, like kind of World of Tomorrow style, but not really because it's a cyberpunk dystopia. So it's like, the outside of the development area is like has all this iconography about how great it is going to be to live in this area, but everything's come to a screeching halt. So
So
you
it's all
have
peeling and yellowed and
perfect. Yes, exactly. We have this
trash
like
filling the chain link fence.
exactly. We have this juxtaposition between development and these old waterways and the stagnation that is happening in between.
Yep.
So I
Awesome.
think that's where it should take place.
Okay. So then here's the other out. Are they racing for the tracking device? Or are they trying to get the tracking device and then find it before lab coat gets it?
Hmm. I think they're trying to find it before lab coat gets it because I think
Okay.
that just adds more urgency to the situation. You know, I to bring up the Age of Sigmar game again, like I don't want a lot of situations where it's like, okay, guys, what do you do? And then everybody's just kind of like silent. Nobody knows what's happening. I like a sense of urgency in games. Um, so I like I want things to just constantly be happening for this adventure.
Cool. All right. So they got to go to this. The hazard is the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the conflict there is that there's some crappy, scabby mutant gang that
Yeah. What about? I mean, you know, You could put a creature in there. You could do all sorts of stuff. I would say what kind of environmental stuff, but we're already going to do that with like the chemical area. That's hugely environmental, danger. So I would like to do something different with this particular zone for the adventure. But yeah, you could do some like drifter gang that's just like hanging out in that development area that hasn't been cleared out yet. You know,
Yep.
something that's rival to the ethical horde.
Oh, I'm thinking about like when they go to get the chemical compound or the tracking thing
Mhm.
at the place of manufacture.
Oh, okay.
What's
Yeah.
the conflict or challenge there? And I just had this crazy idea of like, how would you make a penguin scary? Like, because its blood's been replaced by this chemical and it generates heat and it's like 8 feet tall. And like,
Will it explode?
yeah.
I'm a fan of this idea.
I mean, we know it evolved from a penguin. I don't think it would help the players to know that it evolved from a penguin.
Yeah.
But something bird-like, raptorial that moves in a surprising way and is channeling heat from within it, that potentially explodes when you shoot it.
I like the juxtaposition of this is a frigid, cold environment, and the thing you are fighting is producing too much heat.
Yeah,
Like they are like sweating. The closer this thing's getting to them, like they touch it and it burns their skin.
yeah. So they got to figure out how to get around that thing or kill that thing to get the thing to track it, and then they're racing against time to find the sample in the sewer system before Labcoat does. Labcoat's got goons, or there's something in the sewer. They get it, they don't get it. How do they get paid?
They get paid in one of two ways. They either get paid by recovering it or they get paid by properly disposing of it
Okay.
because there was a second person interested in disposing it desperately. And that person was watching from the sidelines for some reason. So they're aware. They're aware. You could have like a double contract on this job, right? That could be a
Yeah.
fun little like twist in the adventure that the person supplying this contract to them, this job to them is like, by the way, there are two contracts for this job. You can eat, you know what I mean? Like there's a buyer who's interested in this and there's a buyer who's interested in getting rid of it. And then that puts like a fun, quandary on the party of like, what do we have and what do we do with it? And it could be a launching point into, the next adventure.
And that's totally something that shady fuck Telmore would do.
Yeah. I was almost like, who?
Our fixer, who's,
Yep.
foreign agent of outside powers.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So
I think we
wait,
got it.
well, what other kind of things can go horribly wrong?
I mean, this is one night's play. I don't think we need too much more horribly wrong.
Fair enough.
Like, I think we got a couple major beats of our story, a couple major scenes. They're going to have some planning discussion in the middle. And
The only
then,
thing I could think of going horribly wrong is if the party kills lab coat. It's not the worst thing in the world. It just is going to take a lot of the like dread aspect out of the adventure. There was another one.
oh no, lab coat, he's a scrawny little scientist.
Mm-hmm.
He operates drones, like
Oh,
android
perfect.
drones with like lab coats, like, and the gloves and horrible, crazed, like glowing eyes that like,
See, this is why I'm saying like plan for what could go horribly wrong and it just makes it even better. Yeah.
yeah.
That way if they do kill it, it's just a drone.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, I think we did it.
How do you feel about it? This process,
I
was it
feel really
similar to what
good.
you do?
This is a more efficient version of what I do because this keeps you on track. You know, with me, I just kind of like lay in a bed or on a couch and just kind of like start spinning through things through my imagination and then occasionally writing them down. And this is a more focused approach. You know, it's like, here's what it is, roll on the table. This is what's happening. And you could deny the result of the roll at any point in time. We could have been like, nah, this one doesn't work. Let's just try another one. You know?
Yeah. I like it. I think next time, the nice thing is with these books, and as we'll get into later in the season, he's got a version of this for just about every major genre of role playing except Western.
Of course he does.
I've mentioned this. One of my favorite is Wolves of God, where you're 7th century Anglo-Saxons. He's got a version of this for creating adventures of that.
There's a part of me that wants to combine all of them.
Oh, there's guidance. There's a whole section in Wolves of God for bringing Anglo-Saxons from Wolves of God into the Stars Without Number as like, this is an out of contact human world that you discover. And then there's these crazy fucking Anglo-Saxons that live here.
If we ever get to the point where we had a large enough audience and like a Patreon or something, I would be like, let's design a setting and adventure just using the tables and prompts, but like you have to jump from one book to the next.
Yeah.
And then we'll run it for the patrons.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Very weird, but we like weird.
We do like weird. And listener, if you also like weird, then guess what? You are one of us. You are one of us. We are the Jaunty Mantis. We are curious gamers looking for creative questions. And Jesse, if our listeners have creative questions for us, what should they do about that?
Well, you can write us an email at jauntymantis@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also reach out on Twitter or Hex as Wantymantis. Yeah, I don't know. That works.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, until then, I guess get out there and write some fucking adventures and shit.
Yeah, go find the chemical marker detector. So, heat is cheap.
Yeah. Hide some future tech in a rat hot dog.
It's the best idea of this episode. Good night, y'all.
Good night.